The one-handed backhand is easier than learning how to drive. I shit you not. We have all of these fucking idiots going around telling people, the one-handed backhand's highly technical. You should learn a two-handed backhand instead. You'll never learn how to hit a one-handed backhand like Federer. Guys. I'm gonna blow your fucking mind in 5 seconds. The one-handed backhand is nothing more than a rear delt fly and a lateral lift. Holy shit. You want proof? You want proof? Another important detail here is you lock the wrist. You don't move the wrist. First, we're gonna look at what most people do. What most people do, and it's not your fault, by the way. I don't blame any of the players for this. You just haven't been getting the correct instruction up until this point. You've just been getting a bunch of tips, tidbits, analogies, and metaphors. You have people that tell you they're gonna explain the biomechanics of the stroke, but then they don't even mention a single muscle. They just throw a bunch of angles at you. But again, the one-handed backhand is nothing more than a rear delt fly, lateral raise. Holy shit. Everyone recognizes this follow-through pose. You know, some people call it Statue of Liberty, some people call it holding a torch up, but either way, the racket's pointed up, the strings are facing sideways, the edge is pointed forwards. How do we get here? The key to understanding tennis strokes is being able to look at tennis strokes, paying attention to the arm only, ignoring the racket, because people try to infer arm movement from the racket, but you have to just look at the arm. And then once you look at what the arm is doing, then you realize, oh, that's what muscles we're using. In order for the arm to go from a closed chest to open chest position, you have to use the rear delt. It doesn't matter if it's at a low angle, it doesn't matter if it's at the normal horizontal angle that you do at the gym, and it doesn't matter if it's at a high angle. You're using the rear deltoid in all three of those scenarios, and I don't care how you look at it, all three of those are rear delt flies. So for the one-handed backhand, you're just doing a rear delt fly at hip height. And then the second thing here, if the space and angle between your armpit and your arm is increasing, you're doing a lateral lift. So what we see during the one-handed backhand is that the armpit goes from closed to open. So the armpit cannot go from closed to open unless there's some sort of deltoid activation and lateral lift action. So that's how we know that the one-handed backhand is a rear delt fly and a lateral lift. And then lastly, how do I know the wrist is neutral? Take the racket out of the hand, look at the wrist is neutral. Put the racket back in the hand, look at the racket. We have this Statue of Liberty holding the torch up position, which is the correct follow through that you want to see. Now, some of you guys are probably going to ask, well, what about the diagonal follow through? Or what about the closed follow through? Or what about the Federer follow through where the racket's pointed backwards? We're gonna get to all three of those. The first thing you have to have though is the proper grip, because if your grip is incorrect, then everything is gonna be completely off. How do you know whether or not you have the correct grip? Now there's a hard way and there's an easy way. The hard way is the traditional method, which is 10 times harder, which requires looking at some retarded diagram like this, memorizing 3 parts of the hand, enumerating and naming the sides of the handle, matching the 3 parts of the hand with the enumerations and names that you gave to the handle, and then memorizing another retarded name like Western, Semi-Western, Eastern, Continental. Why do we use this system? Why do we use this? We all know this is complicated. Furthermore, there's a false consensus around this method. If I took 10 different coaches or 10 different tennis players and I told all of them to get Western grip, you would see 10 different fucking grips. So there's a facade consensus around this model of teaching grips. What is the faster method of teaching grips? Simple. Is the tip of your middle and ring finger on the correct side of the handle? That's it. Every racket handle is the same. We have 2 long sides, 2 medium sides, and 4 short sides, as you can see on this quick diagram I made from Canva. It's very, very simple. For the one-handed backhand, you want the tip of your middle and ring finger to be on a short side, followed by an open long side. Long sides are aligned with the face of the racket. Medium sides are aligned with the edge of the racket. So if you find that the tip of your middle and ring finger are on a short side, followed by an open medium side, that is incorrect. The tip of your middle and ring finger have to be on a short side, followed by an open long side, and then boom, you're done. And of course, make sure that you have the right grip size for your hand. Then from here, let's talk about the preparation. We use closed stance for the one-handed backhand because closed stance gives us more power. What you see more often than not is that most pros hit their forehands in open stance and then they hit their backhands in closed stance. Why don't we hit any one-handed backhands in open stance? Theoretically, it's completely possible. If you have the deltoid strength and the rear deltoid strength, you can absolutely hit one-handed backhands in open stance. Holy shit, I just did it right there, right? When you actually understand the biomechanics of tennis strokes, not say you understand the biomechanics and then just give a bunch of tips, but when you actually understand them, then you can play around with concepts like, again, open stance, one-handed backhands. What you do see a lot of, however, are half open stance, one-handed backhands on the returns on the Pro Tour. But anyways, I'm just throwing that out there. It's 100% possible to start hitting some open stance, one-handed backhands right now after this video, and then just go to the gym and make that center delt and rear delt really, really strong. Low key, it's my mission to completely expose all the biomechanics of tennis strokes so that we can find like new exploits in the sport of tennis that no one has ever really done before, the same way that speed runners in video games, you know, exploit mechanics of video games that they can exploit. But again, you can only exploit a system when you understand it. If you don't understand it, you fall victim to just doing what everyone else is doing and following whatever everyone else is saying, okay? And with that being said, again, we go into closed stance because when we're hitting backhands, the right arm is going across the left side of the body, assuming you're right-handed. It's the opposite if you're left-handed, but we're assuming you're right-handed. So if the right arm is reaching across the left side of the body, we don't have as much reach versus if the right arm is reaching on its own side of the body, which we have way more reach over here. So if we don't have reach, we don't have power. So how do we extend power? We go into closed stance. This is how far I can take my racket back in a hypothetical open stance one-handed backhand. But again, once you learn the one-handed backhand, you can do whatever you want. If I go into closed stance, look how much further back that racket goes. It goes back much further. So we go into closed stance when we're hitting one-handed backhands because it gives us more power by allowing us to take our racket back more. Now, let's talk about the correct form for taking your racket back. You want to straighten out your right arm, and you can take your racket back all the way up here, back here, it doesn't matter. Anywhere around here, you're allowed to take your racket back. The further in front you start, the further you can loop back into your one-handed backhand and get more power, but ultimately, it's up to you. As long as the racket is pointed back and up, and as long as the strings are facing to the left, then you have the correct preparation position. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna loop the racket with the left arm. So the left chest is gonna open and pull the racket down like this, down to our hips, and now we're at the position where we're actually gonna do the rear delt fly combined with the lateral lift. This is the separation of the arms. A lot of people, they will carry their left arm forwards. You do not want to do that. You want to separate the arms at this point, and you see a lot of people, they will push this back arm out just so that both sides of their body are kind of mirroring each other. The brain likes to mirror one. The brain has an easier time doing the job of one side if the other side is kind of mirroring it. So you'll see players push their arm back to mirror what they're doing as they're going forwards. But again, we separate the arms here, and the swinging arm is doing the rear delt fly and then the lateral raise. Our point of contact is the position in which our strings are facing forwards. As you can see, it's fairly far in front. The point of contact for the one-handed backhand is pretty far in front. What I see with a lot of players, they'll let the ball get too close and they'll try and swat sideways, okay? So what happens if the ball gets too close is you have to do a single arm face pull. Normally, when you're hitting a normal one-handed backhand, you're doing a rear delt fly and a lateral lift. So I'll show you what the normal one-handed backhand should look like, and I'll show you what it looks like when the ball gets too close to you and how you compensate for that. If you are in correct striking distance between you and the one-handed backhand, oh fuck, the clay. If you are in correct striking distance between you and the one-handed backhand, it should look like this, right? But if it gets too close to you and creeps up on you, then you do a single arm face pull. What a lot of people don't understand is that the solution when the ball gets too close to you is not to force your way through. The solution when the ball gets too close to you is to go up. You see this a lot with players when the ball gets too close to them on the forehand as well. If it gets too close to them, they brush the ball up aggressively, okay? Up is the solution when you are uncertain and when the ball is too close and too tight, okay? But with that being said, again, our normal one-handed backhand, we're doing a rear delt fly, lateral lift. If you want to brush the one-handed backhand, then you are going to replace the lateral lift with a single arm face pull, okay? If we're doing a lateral lift finish, we're gonna finish tall. If we do a lateral lift finish and then rotate the shoulder a little bit more to get more spin, which is generally what you do when the ball is high, and you're hitting through it, a flat, high one-handed backhand winner, that's when you'll add shoulder rotation at the end. But even then with these high, flat one-handed backhands, you'll still see people like Dominic Thiem finish tall. Now, if you want to brush the ball, that's how you get the diagonal finish. So again, at the beginning of this video, we were talking about all these different finishes. If I do a face pull finish, then that's how I finish diagonally. Brushing behind the ball, face pull finish. One more time, brushing behind the ball, face pull finish. Now, what about the Federer finish? What's going on here, okay? The last thing you want to do is add wrist to the ball. So when you are learning a one-handed backhand for the first time, do not add your wrist to the ball. Notice that when I taught you how to brush your one-handed backhand, I didn't say anything about that wrist. Because a lot of people, what they try to do is they try to take the mechanics for brushing their forehand and apply it to the backhand. Everyone knows that you wave the wrist when you're brushing your forehand, but then they try again to take those mechanics and apply them to the one-handed backhand. They do something like this and it's wildly inconsistent and out of control. That's because you don't brush the one-handed backhand with your wrist, you brush it with your rear delt. Brushing just means staying behind the ball and not pointing your racket forward and through it. And in order to get that motion, you do a single arm face pull. So what's going on with Federer's one-handed backhand where he's finishing pointing backwards like this. He's adding a slight wrist wave. This by no means is fundamental to your one-handed backhand. You do not want to start doing this first thing. And again, we see plenty of other one-handed backhands where they do not aggressively wave their wrist and finish pointed backwards like Federer. Even Federer's one-handed backhands, most of them he'll finish diagonally, upwards, or slightly closed. Only a handful of them will he finish with this backwards pointed racket. So again, the normal form for the one-handed backhand: rear delt fly, lateral lift, finish pointed up. If you want to brush it, then you're going to get the diagonal finish with a single arm face pull. And if you're getting a high ball and you want to hit a flat winner, you're going to rotate your shoulder closed through it. And then if you want to hit like Federer, you're going to wave your wrist up slightly, okay? It's not going to be aggressive. By no means is it going to be as much as you do when you're hitting a forehand. So you're going to wave your wrist up. And if you do all that, that looks like this. So you can take everything that you just learned in this video, immediately apply it the next time you get on the court and see a substantial improvement in your one-handed backhand. This video alone is literally worth thousands of dollars in one-handed backhand lessons. How do I know this? Well, I have a bunch of clients with broken one-handed backhands after going to former pros, college coaches, pro tour coaches, head coaches, high certified coaches, and then they come to me and they're like, Coach Julius, I still have a broken one-handed backhand, please fix it. I saw your videos, I need your help. And then we fix it using like literally everything I just taught you in this video. So again, I put these videos out here because I don't think people should be spending an entire house mortgage or college tuition just to learn tennis. Do you guys think I'm joking? I'm not joking. Parents spend anywhere between $100,000 to $400,000 on their kids on average just to get them to a UTR 7. How do I know this? Look at the average UTR that players get to after 1 to 4 years at big academies like IMG Academy. Also, I was working with a parent over in California and they told me that they invested over $150K into their child's tennis game and they were only at a UTR 2.5 at one of the best clubs on the West Coast that had a staff full of former pros and full of coaches with a reputation for developing top players. I'm gonna add a little bit of an industry secret here about what's really going on when coaches say they develop, work with, or produce top players. Most of these players that they take credit for being affiliated with have had 5 to 10 other coaches and hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars spent on their tennis game. So unless you actually press this coach for exactly what they taught and exactly what they contributed to these high-level players' tennis games, then they will continue saying stuff like, I coached, I developed, I produced, I worked with so-and-so pro, college player, national champion, state champion, and make it sound like they're credible. I understand completely that people will spend thousands of dollars on coaches and not find out until after they've invested, 4 to 6 figures on a coach that they need to unlearn most of what they learned. But with that being said, if this video helped you out a lot, well, I have some really good news. I created a one-handed backhand masterclass that goes even deeper and just teaches you everything you need to know about the one-handed backhand, so you'll never need another video or another lesson for your one-handed backhand ever again. And the link to that is in the description and the pinned comment down below. The reason that I make these videos and these online masterclass courses is because I have thousands of players around the world asking me for lessons, and unfortunately, even in my entire lifetime, unless I can clone myself, which, spoiler alert, I'm thinking about coming out with my own certification system and academy in the future, but that's a really expensive venture. You could be a great coach, but if you don't have courts and you don't have venture capital, can't build an academy. But we'll see how things go. Now, again, with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment below any thoughts, questions, or comments that you have down in the comment sections, and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos like this that will help out your tennis game. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.